This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and this is part two of a webinar series to talk about the submission of property valuation data to the Department of Management for the 2022 valuation assessment year. So, this particular segment is going to discuss working with taxing districts within the valuation system. As a county auditor or staff, you can edit and delete and add taxing districts within the valuation system. You cannot do that with levy authorities, but taxing districts are something you can work with. Now, this is not going to talk about adding TIF districts. That is covered in another segment of the training, the portion that talks specifically about TIF. And frankly, TIF districts are one of the drivers of actually the addition of taxing districts. But this is going to talk about it in general, as well as editing and deleting those taxing districts. So when you add tax districts, keep in mind that we do have uniform naming conventions. And this is just to keep some semblance of uniformity, across the state when we look at our list of taxing districts. We use city after the name of a city ag if it is a city ag district, city exempt if the value is exempt from city taxation. We want to use SCH after a school and TWP after a township. And we separate the various names within the taxing district name with a backslash. And of course, for TIF districts, we want to always end TIF districts with TIF base for the base district. That's the part of value that all levy authorities tax against, and TIF increment for the increment value that is being used to generate TIF revenue. And examples are listed in the instructions. So if you have some taxing districts that you're adding, please pull out a list of instructions and review those uniform naming conventions. As far as addition of taxing districts and what you need to do when you add those for TIF base and increment districts, when you add those in the online system, it's going to ask if it's a TIF district, right? And so it's going to do some of the work for you in that it will associate the levy authorities found within the selected parent tax district when you create a TIF base taxing district. So when you're in the system and you have to create a TIF base district, it's going to ask you for the parent of that district. Just meaning, where is this happening? What existing taxing district that you already have is, where this TIF is happening. And similarly with the TIF increment district, the system then associates the base district levy authorities that are authorized to levy for debt service as the appropriate taxing entities for that particular tax district. And again, as I mentioned, there is another module that talks in more detail regarding adding TIF taxing districts. For city exempt districts, the online system associates the appropriate levy authorities based on responses to particular prompts. So, city exempt is used when there's an annexation and the city is phasing in those properties to the city rate, a portion of value at a time. So it's just a way for those that are annexed into a city to sort of see a more gradual tax burden instead of fully experiencing the city tax rate, within 1 year. So what happens is that you are reporting, you know, the value of that tax district. The value of those partials, I should say, within two different tax districts. Some that is fully taxed and includes the city tax rate, and some that is exempt from the city tax rate. So, again, the system does some work for you as far as associating the correct city district and making it exempt from the city tax. If you have this situation, if you never experienced it before, certainly let me know and we can walk through it. It's probably not a super frequent situation that occurs, but if you, again, are dealing with it and you're not sure what to do, let me know. So, the tax district option, when you pull up tax districts on the left-hand side, just sort of an overview of the screen, you will see the different tax districts within your county displayed with their name, with their number, their name, of course, their property type, whether it's rural or urban, and whether or not it's TIF. And there are a set of actions that you can do with a particular tax district. You can edit it, you can manage associations, and you can delete that tax district. So we'll walk through the three different actions that you can take with any particular tax district. The first one to look at is editing a taxing district. So if you are looking at a situation where you need to modify the name of a tax district, and frankly, the most common reason why you'd have to do this is when you have school mergers. And so a school name may change and you need to, go into an existing tax district and edit the name of that school within the tax district name. So in order to edit a taxing district, of course, you can search it by name or number from that tax district screen, and you'd select the option Edit Tax District. And then you'd see the following information here. So not all fields are editable, but you can edit the tax district name as well as edit the value that's listed within that tax district. Now, for the most part, you're not going to edit valuation for a tax district in this screen, right? Because you upload those valuation figures when you upload your DAT file. So there's not typically a reason for you to modify the valuation that's listed for a particular tax district. But in certain cases, it might be applicable and for a small correction, something of that nature. So if you have a question about editing the value in the screen for a particular taxing district, just let me know. The most common thing you're going to be doing, of course, as I mentioned, is editing that tax district name. And in this case, we're changing the school name. Again, most common reason why you do this. You'd go into that tax district name box, make the changes that you need, and your save option is down here in the bottom right corner. And again, like I mentioned, you do have an option, if needed, to edit the 100% in taxable value by class for that particular tax district. And if you did make a change, then of course you would save. The second option you have when you're working with taxing districts is to manage the associations with that tax district. And by that, I mean you're managing the tax district levy authority associations for that tax district. So you'd select this option here under actions. It looks like a branch essentially. And this is going to display for you the existing list of levy authorities that are assigned to that particular tax district. So who is taxing within that particular tax district, right? So it's going to list everyone that's currently assigned, and the action you can take is to unassign them. You can also, within the search box, search for a levy authority that needs to be added to that particular tax district. So in this case, we are adding a school to that particular association, and we're going to remove a school. So we went down here, we searched for the tax district, or excuse me, the levy authority that we needed. And when we found it, we select the plus button, and that would add the association to the tax district. And it will show you, okay, this levy authority has been assigned to this tax district. Well, of course, we have a problem here, right? Because we have two schools assigned to one tax district, and that's never the case. So we need to remove the old school from the association. So we'd find our old one and we'd select unassign. And it's going to ask you for confirmation that you want to unassign that particular levy authority from the tax district, and you'd select yes. So that's how you modify the associations from a particular tax district. You also may need to delete a taxing district. Typically, this happens maybe with an old TIF increment, uh, situation that is no longer occurring, or it could be you are combining tax districts because of a school merger, so you can, clean it up a little bit and delete some existing tax districts. So to delete a tax district, you would go to the tax district and you see we have the option here, the little trash can to delete a tax district. Well, the first thing it's going to do if you've made no other modifications, it's going to tell you that you cannot delete a tax district that has levy authorities associated with it. And that's just to prevent an error or a situation where a tax district is deleted with outstanding levy authorities, and then those levy authorities are not reassigned to another district. It's just sort of to prevent an error. So the first thing you need to do then with a tax district that you need to delete is to manage those tax district levy authority associations and then unassign the current list of taxing entities for that tax district. So we clean all that up, we unassign all those different existing levy authorities, and we of course select yes. And then once we're ready for that, we go back to our option with the trash can, we select delete, and it's going to say, yes, do you want to do this? Just some parameters and letting you know if you do delete a base district, the associated increment is also deleted. So if you are deleting a TIF district, just remember delete the base first and it will also delete the increment. Otherwise, it's just going to obviously delete that one tax district that you are choosing to get rid of, and it'll give you confirmation that the tax district has been deleted. Of course, you can add tax districts. And then to add a tax district on the tax district screen on the top right, you see the option to add tax district. And we'll walk through a city exempt example first, just to show you how the system will do some of that work for you as far as assigning levy authorities. So the first step, of course, is to start, and it's just giving you a little bit of background. You select next. When we enter the tax district, first we start off with basic information. We enter the tax district number if there's a particular number to be used. Otherwise, the system will populate for you the next available, numerically available number, and you would just simply use that. And of course, make a note of this because in your software system, you're going to have to also show this corresponding tax district with the state ID number. And then you enter the tax district name using those uniform naming conventions, of course, from your instructions. And then we enter the property type, whether it's rural, um, unincorporated, or whether it's an urban city tax district. And we do next. In this case, we said it's a city exempt district, right? So we said it's city exempt and it's going to ask for the parent, just meaning, okay, well, where are these parcels going into? What existing tax district are these parcels actually going into and then, being exempted from the city tax rate? So in this case, we select Ottumwa City, Ottumwa School. It's going to ask whether or not, it's going to ask for TIF information. So whether or not this is a TIF related example, and in our case, it's not. So you do next. And then it's going to provide you with an overview of the tax district that you just created. So you're going to want to make sure, again, to take a good look at that, make sure the name is correct and everything looks good. Write down that tax district number and you do create. So that was an example of a city exempt district. The TIF district example is included in the segment of webinars that are specific to TIF. So again, take a look at those if you're creating TIF districts. And then the other example we'll go through is, of course, any non-TIF or non-city exempt taxing districts. And we'll go through this example. These are situations where the system is not going to be able to provide the associated levy authorities for you. You would have to know those and add them to that particular district. So you'll create the district in the system, and then, of course, as I just mentioned, the appropriate levy authorities have to be assigned manually. So if we're creating a regular city taxing district or county taxing district, we would go up to the top Add Tax District button on that tax district screen. And again, it's going to walk you through a certain set of steps, and it'll prompt you based on how you answered previous questions. So we start first with, of course, the basic information. We enter a tax district number, or better yet, just let the system populate the next available taxing district number and then note it. And we enter the tax district name using our uniform naming conventions. And then we enter the property type, whether it's rural or urban, and do next. So city information, is this a city ag district? Is it a city exempt district? If it's neither, then you just do next. And then TIF related, yes or no? Is it a TIF district? Is it, base or increment that we're creating, or is it just not TIF related? And then in this case, we're saying it's not TIF related, so we're doing next. And then again, an overview of the system, the tax district we just created in the system, the name, the number, the property type, and that it is non-TIF related. So we create, but it will tell you, okay, you created this tax district, but there are no levy authority relationships created. So it's just a tax district kind of floating out there with nothing associated to it for tax purposes. So we need to do that step, right? So it's going to dump you right into the screen where you associate your levy authorities. And it does prompt you at the bottom saying, okay, we know in any situation where there's a tax district, there's got to be a county, there's got to be a school, an ag extension, an assessor, a community college. And then because this is an urban district, we know there has to be a city associated with it. If it was a rural district, there would have to be a township associated with it. So those are the very basic levy authorities that must be associated. Now, there could be additional levy authorities associated, right? Some of those optional ones that are out there, or ones that are not in every single county. The most common example I would think of is a hospital. So there are about 43 county hospitals. So in those 43 counties, you would have to associate a hospital with each and every taxing district in that county, because it's a countywide hospital, and the hospital taxes against each taxing district. So you would just simply use the search button and add your various levy authorities. You can just type in the levy authority name and pull up the list. In this case, we're like, okay, well, it's Wapello County. So we know, at a minimum, we need Wapello County associated. So you use the plus. We know we need the Wapello County Ag Extension associated. We know we need the Wapello County Assessor associated. So we would just simply add those levy authorities using the plus button. If you happen to forget one of the required levy authorities when you did this process, when you go later on and you do your errors check, it will catch that for you, and you would be unable to file your values. You'd get a red error, and it's saying this taxing district is missing one of its core levy authorities. It's going to tell you which taxing district, and then you can go back to the taxing district, pull up that taxing district that's got the error, use the manage associations, and correct the error. So we pulled up our tax district. Whoops, we forgot to add the community college. So we do a search, we add our community college, and then the taxing district would have the proper levy authorities associated. Keep in mind, as I mentioned, any given taxing district may have more than the required taxing authorities associated with it. That's something that the system cannot know. It doesn't know if that particular taxing district is in a SMID district of a city, or in a particular fire, district. So just keep in mind that it's going to catch for you those core levy authorities. But if you are, for instance, as I mentioned, a county that has a county hospital, that's one that's going to be required for you, but the system doesn't take note of what's required in that particular situation. So, as you're adding or deleting or working with taxing districts in any way, I'm always happy to assist you. And here you can see my phone number and my name. Thank you.